Lost among the stars, look up and see how small we are. Over here. Surround her. Don't let her go through. Attention all forces. Get ready. The feeling of weightlessness returns. Calcium crystals grow rapidly, tethering Saria's hand to the corridor floor. The second disorder wave is starting. Disorder? Nasty's magnum opus. You've been following me around for the last couple of days? Does defense have nothing else to do? 16 of Orion Technological Park modifications do not comply with our established safety regulations. Speaks in sarcasm. Disorder. You abandon the sense of balance inside your mind. Instead of fighting the chaos, try adapting to its rhythm instead. Find what you've been looking for? You reconfigured several key structures in the park. You don't seem to be following any rules, but the connections between the components make sense. I could have never imagined that structure like this could be possible. A linear language constricts most people's imagination. If you have a specific future in mind, you must first construct a dialogue with the destination, instead of brute forcing a route. Abandon, balance, perceive the destination. She frees up both her hands. The next shift in gravity comes abruptly, and as she hits the ceiling, she takes the opportunity to maneuver her trajectory and jumps over the soldiers hot on her tail. Calcium crystals follow in a wake, drawing an arc. Manipulating raw calcium in the same way microbes change the composition. How very enlightening. The materials morph extremely quickly and are adaptable to combinable with various organs and thus have promising medical applications. This has been your research field ever since you were in college, yes? Why not continue? Because it's dangerous. Are you referring to the ethical issues arising from the construction of artificial organs with this technique? More than that, giving new techniques to doctors may save lives, but if they fall in the hands of criminals, they could be reduced to weapons of destruction. I almost forgot how rich with calcium our bodies are. Therefore, I have determined that my research in this field must be suspended until effective control measures have been established. It's a terrible pity. You know that? If you ever change your mind, Ryan Lab, you'd certainly have 2 sections specializing in life sciences. Ryan Lab needs a defense section more. I'm giving you my data in the hopes that you can combine our experiences to better evaluate the risks of the chimeric experience. Don't go too far, Parvis. The cost of pushing our boundaries will be too high for us all. Then, where does the boundary lie? Countless studies have shown that the evolution of life has not been a gradual process, contrary to the theories of the earliest scholars in this field. We wouldn't be standing here right now if we had been taking one step at a time. Furthermore, if we presume that there is indeed a boundary drawn by a higher will that determines how we should be acting, shouldn't we try to look in the eye first, before we decide to kneel or raise a flag of rebellion? A boundary, this corridor, is also a boundary. If I keep walking along the corridor, I'll never reach wherever the eye is. The hammer. This ring-shaped laboratory has, from its inception, been designed to subvert people's perceptions. It is the realization of Kristen's dreams, the real product of Ryan Labs, Components Control Section, the combined wisdom of practically every Ryan Lab director. Saria is familiar with how each of them operate, but in the past she had not allowed herself to think in the same way. This makes no sense. No, it doesn't matter. I have long been disgusted with this wall. Telescope we borrowed from the Stargazers Association broke down. Don't worry about it. The view here is great. You can see many stars with just the naked eye. Well, you go look for a nice place to sit down. I'll try fixing it. Wow. Oh, great superhuman Saria. I'm so curious. Is there honestly anything you can't do? I recommend you check my personal course electives. I won't be able to do anything I'm not studying. You're a terrifying studying machine. Whoa. It's so cold today. Want candy? Cream puffs? Hot chocolate? Consuming sweets this late at night is not conducive to good health. Boring. Kristen, look at that rock. What do you think it looks like? Oh, come on. It looks like Saria, right? It's so hard, and yet it shines so perfectly. Like the stars. Kristen grabs the shining stone and looks up. She seems to be comparing it to something. As she moves the rock around. Something's wrong. There should be a star here, but there isn't one. I've done so many calculations, and yet I haven't figured out the trajectory of the stars. I've already failed so many times. You still believe it's measurable? I prefer to say that I don't believe. I don't believe in all the rules I've been taught. I don't believe that humanity will never be able to pierce through the star pod, let alone believe that the stars are only as small as we see them. There's no way you believe we can fly all the way to the stars, right? I thought only a kid would believe stuff like that. Children, poets, and scientists. Whoever said I wasn't one? Scientists do not believe that dreams are false, because what they're essentially doing is proving to all humanity that dreams can come true. Gosh, you really have a one-track mind. So, Kristen, when our Rhine lab becomes a full-fledged public company, are we gonna keep that lab on the name, or change it to Rhine something else? I'm studying ecology, and Saria's research is in bioengineering and microorganisms. So the two of us are down to keep it nice and generic. 2 against 1. Us in the life sciences. Just kidding. I mean, you're dead set on soaring to the skies, and your field is high energy physics. So you wouldn't want to name it Rhine Physics instead? No. We'll stick with Rhine Lab. It's a good name. I want to know exactly what the stars we're looking at are. I want to know what's outside the barrier encasing around us. I want to know if we really manage to walk among the stars and look back from over there, what kind of land we've actually been living on. All the questions I seek have mostly to do with not just me, but we. And we are all beings trapped in this teeny tiny corner. How are you planning to compensate me for breaking my vivarium, Saria? You knew Kristen's plans from the very beginning. Are you talking about Arco 1 or Galleria Stellaria? Arco 1 was never more than a front to deceive the military. A pile of scrap paper that was never feasible. Galleria Stellaria is the real laboratory here. Or you could also say the name of this aircraft. It certainly is a name that she would come up with. Yep, the only thing she thinks about. So you replicated your vivarium up here. Is Kristen intending to break through the barrier with it? Just tearing the star pod open won't be enough for her, you know? Without a doubt. Her fixation was never the barrier. but the realm beyond that even our ancestors have yet to reach. She truly wants to step inside that deep outer space. She wants to leave everything that can be left behind in that dimension. And that includes each and every life present in this vivarium. As soon as I heard about the Galleria Stellaria project, I started gathering a variety of plant species that might be able to survive in the environment outside the barrier. I just checked, and there's 753 different types here. Kristen put them all in this lab. I'm pretty happy about it. We'll be able to find our answer together, real soon. You want to know if life can exist among the stars, and especially yourself. Yep, my people and I, we've been trapped in this cage that just continues to shrink. As time goes by, we can only follow what happens to water that can't be contained, wind that dissipates, trees that wither and vanish from this ever-changing land. And then she said to me, "Then let's go. This land is not your home, but beyond it, there might just be a space untainted by originum that will really accept you and your people. A mere hypothesis. So far, no instrument has managed to penetrate or even approach the barrier. So there is no basis to assert that possibility of originum's absence beyond the barrier, let alone the total lack of evidence to suggest that life can survive in the depth of outer space. I know. It's just a dream. There's no evidence or data to support it. And it goes against all the scientific knowledge I have. But scientists don't believe that dreams are false, because what they're essentially doing is proving to all humanity that dreams can come true." I remember Kristen said that. Yes, it's the same as ever. What about us? Saria? Have we changed at all? Water spreads out like hands in all directions, pinning Saria to the wall. Saria has never seen water this fierce out of Mulsis. It is like a waterfall, like a tsunami, as if the water is howling. Calcium crystals continually grow from Saria's hands, but they fail to take form under the sweeping waves. She tries to find Mulsis, but all she finds in stream after stream of water are the eyes of an elf hidden in the depth of each wave. Eyes filled with sincerity and grief. The water is howling, but the elf is crying. I really wish we could be together forever, just like on that starlit night. But there's no way I can hold on to the both of you at the same time. Dancing in threes really is too hard. I won't give you a chance to stop her, because 2 against 1. This time, I'm on her side. Yo, sis. Sleep, Saria. Go to sleep. We are all black and blue and probably about to pass out. There's no need for you to keep fighting, because our dreams are about to come true. So just close your eyes, and the water will take you away from here. By the time you wake up, Kristen and I will have reached our destination. No. A solid calcium crystal does not stab at the water in vain, but into the side of the bulkhead. Saria is well aware that the next disorder is about to happen. Warning. Energy overload initiated. All secondary compartmental gravity systems and dampeners have failed. Attention all personnel. Energy overload initiated. Why would it suddenly? Sudden? No. You were right. Kristen has never changed. The instantaneous gravitational shift causes the streams of water to lose direction. The enamel piercing through the bulkhead firmly fixes Saria on the spot. but Mulsis is tossed outside along with her water. Saria! You're the same as ever. Whenever you get nervous, you forget just how fragile your body is. No. Catch me. I don't want to leave. Not alone. The energy overload is starting. When it's done charging, the entire platform will collapse. Even if you can get close to, or even break through the barrier, the core cabin will not last long enough. Kristen wants to save you. As do I. You... Yes. I want to bring her back. Mulsis, after gravity returns to normal, leave this place. What happens next is between the two of us. Saria! No. I gotta hold on to something. Authentication failed. Your clearance has expired. Galleria Stellaria Vivarium. Access denied. Your clearance has expired. Galleria Stellaria Vivarium. Access denied. Saria, you dummy! Blockhead! Knuckle! Open the door! I've really been abandoned again. Saria, I hope you make it. Saria stands at the door, leading to the deepest part of the lab, knowing her target is just inside. However, before she can even condense the calcium crystals on her hand, the door lock automatically releases. Compared to the previous area filled with instruments and equipment, this place feels more like a temple to the stars. A sphere made of smooth and flawless metal shows off its dazzling beauty under the soft light. Spheres of varying sizes slowly glide on predetermined orbits one after another, with their paths changing now and then. The irregularities intertwine with each other, but contrary to expectations, they form an indescribable sense of harmony. Whether it be the position of the stars, or how precise their orbits shift, the planetarium exceeds the imaginations of any astrologer. But in the very next moment, those devoted to the stars would probably fly into a rage. Those so-called astrologers are basically misguided zealots. For the past 1,000 years, they've committed themselves to tracking the trajectory of the stars. Every trajectory change that occurs signifies a new revelation, or a meaningful omen to them. Their behavior is not necessarily incomprehensible. The fact that the stars move without a trace is enough to terrify most people. To believe that the stars are mere pawns of an undiscoverable thing, that their movements and trajectory changes hold any meaning, is obviously the more reassuring choice. However, Kristen extends a hand toward the planetarium. The dome of the Galleria Stellaria, enveloping the ceiling, suddenly opens itself. False starlight floods the laboratory. Kristen makes a series of gestures with her hands, and in an instant, the planetarium completely transforms. Fake. The stars begin to move erratically. False! Several stars collide with one another. Though they do not shatter, the sound of them crashing into each other instantly destroys the silence in the room. Fabricated. However, Kristen's expression does not change at all, as if everything is as it should be. If the trajectories are really just invisible, then how have we avoided colliding with other stars throughout the last millennium? Are we so special to have avoided such a fate so far? What kind of land have we actually been living on? Where exactly are we headed? These questions, I've whispered them in your ears too many times to count. you help me move that planet over there, Saria? A small metallic sphere passes by Saria's hand. Star. Instead of touching it, she lets it fall out of orbit. What a shame. I've been fiddling with these planets before we break the barrier, and no matter how many times I try, they just refuse to stay on the right track. Stop this, Kristen. We still have time to turn back. Before you hit the barrier with this Galleria Stellaria. Galleria Stellaria isn't exactly how I described it to you before. A pity that you had already left Rhine Lab by the time I built it. But I knew you'd come back at the very moment when my dreams were about to be realized. You would be there, whether or not it was me or against me. This time it's my turn to make the first move. Kristen lifts her hand, revealing the exoskeleton operating system Saria is most familiar with, and gently makes a fist. Silver liquid spews out from the planetarium behind Kristen. And in an instant, all the planets are thrown out of their orbits, rushing towards a single position at a speed too fast for the naked eye. The entire galaxy pours down on Saria. The stars crash to the ground. Someone lifts a head from the pristine white debris scattered all over the floor. What's the matter, Control? You were faster before. Since you weren't able to kill me, I'll launch my counteroffensive. Don't blink. The stars struck down by Saria's refloat, setting off on a new trajectory. Kristen's fingers flick to the side. Saria's legs suddenly feel 1,000 times heavier. The gravity shifted. You used this trick to send Musis away, but it won't work on me. Enamel grows beneath Saria's feet like a pair of heavy-duty boots, holding her in place. And then she begins to move forward, step by step. Instead of refining the way you generate calcium particles, you've simply increased the release speed. The enamel you're generating has gotten even more brittle. A hardy resistance isn't enough to cross the finish line. A metal planet shatters the enamel barrier, hitting Saria on her shoulder. Saria does not cease her advance. It happens twice, and then thrice. Saria continues to speed up. Saria? Stop. Stop. That's what I said to you. I can tell you all about my plans. I know. Then why do you insist on stopping me? There will be no other victims in this plan. I just wanted to set off some harmless fireworks over the skies of Trimounts. The moment Hammer finishes its job, both the military and Maylander will breathe a sigh of relief. The residents of Trimounts will be momentarily captivated by the spectacle unfolding before them in the sky, but soon enough, their focus will be directed towards other, more deserving concerns. Rhine Lab might be the most affected party here. She will lose her control, possibly several directors, in the confidence of the powerful Colombian organizations. Then you should have stayed on the ground, clean up the mess, protect those who might be hurt by this, and carry our Rhine Lab through the crisis. You've always been good at that. You forgot again. I resigned a long time ago. People like Blake like to call scientists mad, and we couldn't care any less. But science is supposed to be rational. Kristen, when I first heard the story of your parents, I thought They shouldn't have seen an ending like that. If they hadn't perished in that accident and had returned before hitting the barrier, they would have brought back incomparably precious data, as well as the possibility of a second attempt. You obviously... I admire their will and determination, but I've never been one to approve of sacrifice, even justified and inevitable. Ferdinand, Nasti, Parvis. They and many others always thought me too conservative. They see me as a stickler for rules, obstructing all of you. Can a woman like this even be called a scientist? Even I myself have asked this question. You're the most dedicated truth seeker I know. The truth. Truth is the inertia that comes after order. I believe science can bring us truth, and truth can restrain madness, bringing about a better society for everyone. Us Voivers have always been accompanied by an instinctive madness, for as long as we can remember. Violence, savagery. We took an extremely long time just to step out of that chaotic darkness. That's what I have been taught ever since I was small. I use reason to control myself, desperately. Want to confront the madness I see in all of you. But you can't do it. Sorry if you intend to hold on to Ryan Lab by your lonesome. You are sure to be disappointed, because humanity's thirst for progress is inherently undefeatable. A type of desire, a type of madness, but also a natural instinct, and the fuel that has brought us from the desolate barren lands to where we stand. Which is why I've come here, and not for a fight. The heavy stars fall on her like a rock slide. The gravity controls the airflow to howl at her entire body. Calcium crystals crumble from head to toe. But the mountaineer is determined to greet the storm with her own form. Kristen, I almost admitted my own defeat while searching for you. Until someone said to me that I should return to the origin. So on my way here, I've been looking back at where we all started. Yes, I dread losing control. But it's not a fear of chaos, but a fear of regression caused by it. So I must progress onwards, as humanity must. Because for us, the trek is far from over. Indeed, to this day, humanity still lives in the dark. After all, we can't even see through the sky hanging over our heads. The road is long. Very, very long. We hold more knowledge than the average bystander, so we must shoulder heavier responsibilities. We should be ahead of them, eliminate any dangers, and carefully lead them on the path forward. A real pioneer should be clearing the way for all humanity, instead of jumping headfirst into the abyss, never to return. That is my foundation, and I will stand by it. Caught you. She has weathered the storm. She crosses the galaxy. The final calcium crystals spread from one palm to the back of another, and the metal exoskeleton begins to tremble. The synthetic stars ceaselessly revolve around the two in unison. Everything else around them has sunk into chaos as a result of their arcs colliding and destroying each other. Only the Protector's will remains unshaken as Earth's. You're always slightly late. And you're always slightly early. Been waiting long, Kelsey? Not really. I thought you would be next. You were like a microcosm microcosm of everything that happened in Ursus. I'm sorry. I really am. Sorry? For what? You knew my husband and I were already doomed when we made our decision at the Research Institute. You're not the type to get depressed? No. Perhaps you might even become more depressed in the last century? No. I hold regrets, and maybe even remorse towards your story, but not much sorrow. I'm talking about your daughter. Fallenik doesn't live in the better era that you wished for, an era where hate and violence have been forgotten. The same goes for Ludmilla. Like I said, you're a microcosm. Lilia, you and Fallenik have an unbreakable bond formed of hatred and blood. A microcosm. I've seen it many a time. A futile destruction. Sounds like you're tired. You weren't created to be a savior. You can't level a mountain with a finger, or destroy a city with your eyes. Just what sort of plebeian would hope that you were invincible? Do those fools think they could uphold a civilization teetering on the edge of collapse with just violence? There might be some such a hope. They hope that I can bring them a future. Hope to survive in my country. Hope for victory under my command. You failed them. Because you're just Kelsey. Our conversation has yielded no answers. Yes, you've admitted it. You're tired. But why? You're always on the path of avoiding their self-destruction. But the power you hold is just that minuscule. There's no way you can teleport from Victoria to Ursus, or monitor every Sarkaz on Terra to see what dangerous witchcraft they're delving into this time. Whatever you do just grows more and more futile. So you're starting to get impatient, right? And especially, Wes. I know. You already know what you're afraid of, yet you're still able to keep yourself from thinking about it. Not letting Teresa and Teresis appear in front of you. Even your subconscious is practically begging for it. The same goes for your own determination, Kelsey. You think people will treat you gently, and so that pair of siblings won't talk to you like this? How strange. You were so cold before that I never imagined you would seek the warmth of others. From such a perspective, you really have become weak. Spring is chilly here. I'll catch a cold soon if I stay out any longer. We should go somewhere with a warmer spring. Shall we go inside? Sure. Snow? A rare outsider. Are you heading for the Sacred Mountain? Pilgrims as young as you rarely make it up here. Why aren't you continuing your ascent? Legs got frostbite? Sacred Mountain. Are we in Shirag? I don't remember how to pronounce that word, my bad. Is that where you're from? I wouldn't consider it as such. It's one of the most spectacular mountains on Terra. I once saw a group of destitute refugees settle and rebuild their lives in that paradise, free of catastrophe. Oh, it must have been a beautiful place then. Terra. It sounds so small. That's where you're from? Yes. I come from Terra. And you? Toward the mountain. We're born with this one goal. Born with it? We frolic among the trees on the mossy plains in our youth, and learn from the rocks, and in our prime, we began climbing the mountain. We did so much groundwork at the foot of the mountain, weaving strands of dawnlight into ropes, or preparing a pair of shoes that won't be contaminated by the darkness of the night. And then, we began climbing the mountain. The road is long and full of obstacles, and we only harvest resources from the valleys. Fortunately for us, the Sacred Mountain is merciful. and feed us with deaths. So we dedicate our long lives to this mountain path in return. It must be an exhausting journey, coming all the way here. Exhausting? No, no, no. The snow does not mourn its melting. This is all from the self-flattering efforts of others, while we are just climbers. What is this sacred mountain called? And what should I call you? This mountain is called Time, and us? We are just insignificant lives. Time is such a grand thing, isn't it? You should be well aware of this. Would a mountain change? Has anyone reached the summit? I don't know. What I mean by that is, maybe. Try shouting at the abyss of time. The response you'll receive is the gift from the sacred mountain. Time will not give you an automatic answer, but it will respond. Our predecessors called this response fate. And fate is the echoes of the cries of life. Have you never done this before? Well, it seems like there will be a blizzard tonight. I should go prepare dinner and find a place to set up camp. Do you need a place to rest? We can go together, girl. Sure, old man. I'd like to know, what's there to fill your stomach? Perhaps we'll be having to spare, child. Maybe you can finish your prayers before dinner. Do your shouting before the blizzard blots everything from sight. Louder. You will become yourself. Kelsey, your judgment is rational. For this I feel sorry. Sorry for what? It's only myself. Because I am your time. I single-handedly caused your distrust towards humanity, your pessimism, your dismay, and your impatience with no way out. However, from her and on her, you saw a possibility. Out of your tendency to be overly cautious and anxious, you suspect that this feeling is merely a misjudgment caused by your irritation. After all, the world is breaking out of your knowledge and control, and the new you was only born not long ago, and yet you've considered it many times before, how much easier it would be if you chose to trust them instead. I am your time, Kelsey, you omniscient fool. You forget the little details. You are not a chosen savior. You should not be. You're not always right either. Even if you've already made up your mind, you know better than anyone else how limited time is. And there isn't much left. You should try giving up and choose to trust someone you can believe in. You are not trusted because you are Kelsey, nor do you become Kelsey because you are trusted. You are the echoes of a valley, water dripping off a cliff. Your responsibilities way beyond what your abilities can bear. And now at least, there are people to share these responsibilities with. What you have lost and gained in this short period of the past few centuries, far exceeds your former days. So long they were that you could only use for progress and evolution. Everything is about to end, Kelsey, and you know this. Will you stay your passivity, your pessimism, your apathy? Don't forget your original question. Don't forget the answer that you nearly had. Go on, AMA 10. The meaning of your existence is more than you yourself. Let's stop here. Indeed. Indeed. This is enough. And the doctor? Calming down elsewhere. I do intend to spend some time with you alone. I have a question for you. AMA 10. Kelsey. For the past 10,000 years, have you really lived on this land? Yes. It seems you've changed quite a lot. We haven't interacted much, but you shouldn't be your current self. What did you choose? I've seen wars lasting several millennia, the rise and coexisting of nations, and people growing from their misunderstandings and conflicts. But in the end, they all scattered to the wind, just like the sands of Sargon. But in the blink of an eye, history has already given birth to new children. I've seen the cycle repeat too many times. The cycle itself looms, large and weighs heavy. And I'm fully aware that time is running out. And then, I ran into a unique opportunity. I once met two Tikas who were closer than any creature in any era to the truth of continuing civilization. But now, you are all as fragile as the trash on an asteroid belt. So how can you possibly talk of continuing? Wait. You are saying the Black Crown still remains on Terra. The Lord of Fiends, as the ancient Tikas called it. Tikas. Those odd endemic life forms. What a fluke. I had thought it would have been left behind on the Black Crown. I dislike the shape it takes on the physical plane. A crown leaves a bad taste. A crown points to royalty. The ancient imagery implies power. In this downward trend of collapse, where the misunderstandings over ideology and race push surface civilization towards destruction, towards self-destruction, within an extravagant mirage of peace and unity. The most direct method should be to use those powers to reshape the will of all living beings and fuse them into a singular form. What can a false leader made of memories, emotions, and knowledge even achieve? Don't underestimate us. Doctor, are you alright? Just needed a breather. Perhaps I have underestimated you, but that does not affect the ending already set in stone. You want me to believe that such a tiny piece of heritage is enough to change fate. Heritage is humanity's sole achievement ever since our ancient ancestors learned to use tools and fire. Knowledge, culture, history. So-called civilization is nothing more than that. There will be a day when the Black Crown will no longer belong to Amiya alone, and we will have to fight to survive no matter who the enemy is. You've chosen to fight for Terra. This is what you're decided? With this body, this identity, you are different from Kristen and her kind. Your struggles are far from your original intent. Even Rhodes Island's reserve op teams know the difference between fighting for themselves and fighting for others. When we've all done our preparations, this great land of Terra is where I grew up. I'm an employee of Rhodes Island, a part of the ship sailing on the land called Terra. Infected is just too trivial a proposition. However, infected, originum, Then what about you, Doctor? I'm an employee of Rhodes Island. I also have a question for you, Trevor Friston. How has your time been in this equally long period of time? The perturbation system has been lifted. Kristen, tell me how to stop the energy accumulation, and where exactly does the energy come from? This will be an extremely long story. I will try to crack the Galleria's control panel before I'm done listening. Sorry, the history of this land is far longer than most realize. I believe every generation produces its own skeptics. Just like my parents and I. Have our ventures really been completely fruitless? And was there perhaps a more ancient point in time that the sky hung over us was not as we see it today? I remember. That was one of the establishing goals of Ryan Lab's scientific investigation section. Conventional exploration alone has already provided me with plenty of interesting information. After you left Rhine, I picked up some interests I had previously and tried leaving the laboratory, heading on various corners of the world that mankind had scarcely set foot on. The purpose of those journeys was not to observe the sky. The stars are not worth looking at. I came to this conclusion early on, after countless calculations. I only wanted to try and find more collaborators. Since the last Lysanian arts detector orb fell short at 500 meters below the barrier, the academic circles in most countries abandoned their research into the thing. So what I've been looking for, a voice that doesn't belong to this era, like the immortals who rely on original arts to escape the shackles of life, or the Farenmuts, older than any country, perhaps even older than those regarded as gods, a being so old that history has forgotten them. Before I set off on my journey, I had no idea what I was going to find. I just felt a calling across time and space directing me to that door. And what was inside the door? Everything. I found the answers to all my questions. How we managed to trek across history to make it here. About the land's unexplored secrets. And about the myriad of possibilities for our future. But at the same time, I also saw the end of a civilization and a spirit abandoned by time. Time is nothing but a vile joke. At the end of the world, when the seas dried up and the rocks rotted away as everything changed, I hid in this grim bunker, repeating a futile act, shouting into the void. My words permeated every moon and space itself, every tunnel and corner of the stars. The universe did not respond to me. I prayed to the pitch black despair for tens of thousands of years, and the only thing I heard in return was the reverberations of destruction. Whenever I longed for a survivor's response, the sound of collapsing rays of occupied light still lingering among the stars would emerge. It was a black hole of futile effort. My emotions were far beyond what any regular life form would ever experience or empathize with. In the endless silence, all I could hear was the heartbeats of my people growing even weaker, but their dormant hearts should not have been beating at all. Nightmares cannot jolt me awake, because it is impossible for me to sleep. I hate myself for having these emotions. I wish I could operate like a pure machine. I hate the other me that assigned me a fate like this. I knew very well the plan had already concluded. The energy in these sarcophagi was not enough to power the next stage of recovery in our plans. Soon after, I was swept into the nothingness, endless and numb. So the contract with Kristen offered you a gamble. Since your people could never wake up, you might as well. No. The first time I saw that humanoid creature, what I felt was surprise. I've been watching the depths of space far, far away. Not what happened on the surface. I noticed the growth of life, but never expected it to knock on my door. We spent a long time talking, though in reality, it was no longer than a few months. Kristen fired question after question, as if she was meeting a manifestation of truth. And remarkably, every topic would send her into a long period of reflection and silence, instead of satisfying her thirst for knowledge. She catalyzed an idea, but she didn't voice it herself. Kristen refused to be the one to execute the plan. Wasn't she just using Rhine Lab to achieve her goals? She believes that someday, this land will need a group that can separate themselves from politics and unite as a people. This far-sighted group would have to employ everything at their disposal to build an ark. The pioneers would inevitably face the struggle of understanding and would face division and suffering. Reality is not myth, as Babel has proven. Babel? It's Babel, right? So what is Rhodes Island to you, if you hold no hope for all of this? You're right about that. We can discuss this so-called hope. Kristen's little helpers have already begun fiddling with the sarcophagi technology. I have no qualms with it, but this must mean something important for Terra. Use it well. Kristen's political views are not without a few flaws. Loken's research has effectively been put under control. I cannot possibly trust Columbia as a nation, but there is someone behind the melee and the Foundation that is worth negotiating with. That is good. And that, tell me, are the deep-sea dwelling Aegir really so different from the civilizations on land? What I can tell you far surpasses what Kristen has told you. Indeed. I cannot comprehend why these creatures with bodily structures inadequately suited to survive in the deep sea would establish a civilization in the ocean. But this suggests they depend on some product of the seafloor. The form of their civilization has been distorted by external forces, making them stronger, but also causing problems. Aegir is a settlement that must be united, regardless of the problems caused by those rampant sea monsters. I believe that's what they're called. Terra cannot leave such a developed nation alone. Considering their approximate geographical location, and if they use what they might have in abundance appropriately, my guess is that what Kristen is doing right now is not necessarily out of the Aegir's reach. With strengths come arrogance. Aegir is not so easy to persuade. Though fortunately, due to a series of incidents, I have the good fortune to establish a precious friendship with some Aegir. This will be an impactful breakthrough. Since the profound silence, Aegir can no longer remain silent. Oh, which one though? I'm gonna go with Spectre. Excellent. The March of the Knights Mora basically only exists as a legend in the database of Columbia, with no decent historical text to refer to. But if the legendary event was not, in fact, a falsehood, then he is indeed an incredible hero. Even if we take Originum as the power source, the fact that such a tyrant born on Terra thousands of years ago could achieve such a great feat in a much more primitive environment does inspire wonder. However, the south is already in ruins, so you should look north. Have you been there? Sami? No. Even further north, at the ends of the endless ice fields. I tried many times, but I have yet to find anything with the limits of my own capabilities. But you know what's over there. I do. So don't ignore the door that lies there. Push it open when you need to, and it will show you a boundless vista. Just pushing that door is already far beyond what most are capable of. And so it is up to all of you to find a way. The land is vast and civilization continues to advance. So surely there is more than one Kristen. You seem to trust the denizens of this land more than I previously thought. Trust? I hand the tender to you. I have given up everything on my end. Whether or not you can succeed, nothing can be changed. This is my failure. Trust. Yes. I do not know. Perhaps I just want to see any life form able to converse and interact with one another, to continue existing. You know this, compared with the problems on the distant horizon, there is something that can happen at any moment. War. Even if I look only through the eyes of Columbia, I sense the imminent danger to your world, and the fire that can ignite at any time. You will require preparation. Do what you must to extinguish the flame, or to let it produce new life. This is your choice to make. Those who are truly able to save the denizens of Terra are always and only themselves. This need for awakening has not changed since time immemorial, since it is all part of what humanity is. We will discover the truth. The sky is about to be opened, but the barrier will soon heal itself. Perhaps it will take a few days, or months, or years. But the people of Terra will take that limited, voracious scene into their eyes, and keep the moonlight and the distant planets in their memories. I hope, Kristen hopes, that this will be a powerful signal. A signal to herald the next great age. Saria, would you like to gaze at the stars together? Just like we did before. We can talk about this after we descend. The starry sky, or more precisely, what we gaze at is a barrier. The star pod. There's still 1,000 meters to go. Our current position is already near the limit of humanity's touch. The ionization response is too strong. At this height, the instruments can't operate with auto interference. The control panel is completely useless. I should have known. You have no intention of letting the Galleria Stellaria last much longer. Yes, it just has to last until I break the barrier. The barrier. Though we have always been inclined towards the usage of barrier, you are well aware that the shape of it is more than just a barrier. As per conjecture, it might not even be a barrier at all, but an extremely wide space. It might even lack endpoints. Is 6,000 meters. What we understand as normal airspace is actually abnormal. And in that case, breaking it was never an option. It can indeed be broken. You've never once doubted it. 6,972 meters. If you fly straight up at this angle, as long as you can soar past that height, the Galleria Stellaria will no longer be disturbed by any ionization reactions. Fine, so you have credible data from that spirit. But this doesn't reduce the danger of exploring the skies at all. No. Even if we assume the barrier is enveloping the land like a membrane, as you say, it means we know less than nothing about the space beyond it. This makes your actions even more hazardous. You could even bring disaster upon this land. I know. The people are simply inadequately prepared for this. There will never be adequate preparation. If there is indeed a calamity looming over us, then humanity is already living under a ticking clock. If that's the case, then we should be even more cautious, right? Saria, I believe there will come a day when a much more complete exploration team will be formed, and more data and full support. They will enter into the depths of space before our very eyes. This is also the future I hope for. But you yourself are not in this future of yours. True. I'm ill-suited to be called a pioneer. On that point, I fully agree with your view, if possible. I would prefer to become a starting point, just like once, back when I watched the light of those flames burning in the sky. That was the last thing my parents left me, a starting point. Where's the closest escape pod? None left. Those with the capability to execute the return module are already gone. Alright, then hold on to me. I will wrap the both of us in calcification. We might not even have a chance of survival, but we can try. Saria, lower your gaze. What? You're the one who didn't look down this time. The gravity abruptly shifts without warning, and Saria feels only space between her feet. She did not expect Kristen to set up an emergency escape door at the Galleria Stellaria Center. No. Saria thinks to herself. She should have expected it long before. This door is not for the owner of the planetarium. Kristen knew that at the very last moment, Saria would come. The sudden change in mass robs Saria of her voice, and she fails to yell out at anything at all. She also knows that there is nothing she can grab, but still stretches her hand out. Starlight and earth pour into her view, while Kristen only gets further and further away. Saria, you always wanted me to take a good look at the world. Now I have. It is equally beautiful. You will watch it, and the people it nurtures in my stead. This I always knew, just as you have in the past, and will in the future. And I'm not the type to lead people on step by step. I am just a pair of eyes that will peer into the unfamiliar depths of space for all that live on that land. Fristed, I can almost see the true starry sky. It probably hasn't changed much from what you've told me. In over 10,000 years, me and you, our civilization and yours, on the scale of the universe, we are insignificantly small. A torrent of energy pounds the accumulating area of this giant airborne construct, and the ring hovering high up looks almost swallowed by the tremendous amount of energy. Immediately afterward, an even greater amount concentrates at its core, enough to destroy any massive nomadic city. And this world is just so puny and shallow. How could it ever bear it? The light converges and abandons the earth, stabbing upwards into the air. Under unprecedented energy surge, wave after wave of dazzling ripples emerge on the pitch black curtain, devoid of any life. The false sky is at last rent asunder. The ancient twin moons expose their real faces. Tonight, the truth will be perceived by humanity for the very first time. Oh shit.